Okay, hello there, I'm Dennis. Welcome to my channel, Life, Home, and My Linux Journeys. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about my last video. My last video, I had successfully installed Gentoo in VirtualBox. Today, or then in that video, I expressed the idea that I may install Gentoo on real hardware, and more specifically, the Dell Optiplex 790. And I did that, and I've got a full up and running version of Gentoo with the Xfce desktop, and I've had literally no problems with the software that I needed or want. There's a couple things that I'm gonna have to unmask, and I will get into that later. And I still haven't installed the LightDM desktop manager or login manager, and I may not. I don't mind typing in StartX, but I may do that just to further my experience in Gentoo. So let's go ahead and talk about the system here. Let's go to my desktop. Okay, so this is Gentoo Linux. Let me bring up a terminal, Control-Alt-T. Run a neo fetch. We have Gentoo Linux on the 7790. Let's run an Xfce. See what it says about the system. That's covered it all. Sure. Yep, here we go. So the host is Gentoo distribution, Xfce desktop on the Dell Optiplex 790. The CPU is a i3. Where's the megahertz? I don't see the megahertz. Oh, there it is. I think that's it. 323 megahertz. Minimum and maximum 33. For the graphics, now I'm not using, you won't see Xwhalen in here at all. You'll see Xorg, and that's all you'll see. Now I'm sure that Whalen is available. I have not decided to use Whalen. I'm happy with X. Everything seems to work. For audio, we got right here Pulse Audio. Also is installed Pulse Audio. There's no Pipewire. Pipewire does work with Gentoo Linux, but I haven't got that far. This is Gentoo, and Gentoo. Let's see. Okay, so Xfce is going to come in with their application menu, and I've swapped that out, installed the Whisker menu. Does not come in the meta package, but it's available to download and install. I got GNOME Disk, OBS Studio, Kdenlive, Audacity, Krita. My top 4 or 5 things there that is a must. Simple Screen Recorder, Boko Screen, GUVC View, Cheese, GNOME System Monitor, and all of this works. There's nothing in here that didn't work and doesn't work. GNOME System Monitor, let's bring that up. 1.2 gigabytes with OBS Studio running, and I've done some other things before I started the video, so that I expect that to go down. Let's see here. As far as virtualization goes, as soon as I get everything installed on a system that I'm happy with, the next step for me is to work on getting first Oracle VirtualBox installed, and next GNOME boxes, and then Virt Manager. And Oracle VirtualBox, everything just installed. Now, I will confess, right now you'll see here I'm on a Wi-Fi, and everything seems to work. In fact, I need to change this, I think. So I was going to confess that during the installation, instead of using Wi-Fi, which it recognized, by the way, I could have started using it. But because I knew that, or I didn't know about the compile times and the internet speed and everything else, I went ahead and just hooked up a straight Ethernet, and that's how I installed everything and compiled it and I was using Ethernet, so it sped it up some. Out of these three, Oracle VirtualBox took a little while, maybe 45 minutes or so. And then boxes, this one took a long time. This one took probably 2.5 hours from beginning to end from the time I started installing it. And then I did all the little stuff that you need to do to make it, like start libvirt to make it work. And then Virt Manager, this thing installed in just, I'd already installed boxes. And once you do that, you're going to get a lot of the dependencies installed with your own boxes that you'll need in Virt Manager. And so a lot of that stuff was already compiled for myself. Another reason why this stuff went a little faster for me than I had it seen when I installed it in VirtualBox is because I had my use flags set up more appropriately. And I can't say that I understand. I understand the concept of what use flags do, but I don't really have a great handle on that yet. That's going to be part of my learning experience here, reading use flags. But other than that, those all installed and they all work. I can bring it up and show you if you'd like. In fact, I don't even have a ISO in here yet. This is VirtualBox 708 Gentoo revision 168879. So if not the latest, close to the latest. All right. Let's see. That was there. I have. Let's see. I hadn't got everything installed. I'm still working on that, but I've got a system that I can work with, and everything I need immediately is available, or it is installed. Critter, you saw in my favorites. GIMP, GNU image manipulation program. I'll get that out. Under Internet, I got Chromium and Firefox, Qubit torrent. All three of those. And down a little bit here. Let's go. Flatpak list. Uh-oh. Got to spell it right. It's a K, not an L. Let's see. There's Chromium. Firefox. And Qubit torrent. So you can install and utilize Flatpaks. Once I learned that, I said, no more compile time. I had heard some nightmarish time figures about compiling Firefox from source. And for my need, I didn't really need to do none of that. So if it was available as a Flatpak, I installed it as a Flatpak. And I've had no gripes about it. Everything seems to work. I got Alright, which is a Flatpak, K-Patient, Flatpak, Super Touch Cart, Flatpak. So I had a minimal amount of compile time with the programs that I did install. WPA GUI, that's for my Wi-Fi. Spicy, I'm not sure. That's a terminal application, but I'm not sure. Let's open it up. Spice. Connect to a remote server, I'm assuming. Multimedia, I don't have everything, but everything that I would need is right here. Audacity, Brasero, Celluloid, Cheese, GUVC View, Handbrake, Kdenlive, Make MKV, MPV Player, OBS Studio, Parole, Pulse Audio, installed Payvu Control, VLC, Voco Screen, and Xfce4. I installed every one of those. Under Other, I installed a la carte, the menu editor, so I can even more customize the menu the way I want it. Under System, here we got known boxes, Fedora Media Writer, HTOP. What I had? Yeah, I have two image writers, a Fedora Media Writer and Impression, which is the GNOME Media Writer. Doesn't say. When you download it, it's listed as GNOME. impression. One thing I will say about Gentoo that has surprised me, took me completely off guard. I was like, am I going to see a difference between this working system and, say, Fedora or Linux Mint Debian Edition or OpenSUSE? What am I going to see that's different? Well, I can tell you the open time, the boot up time, login time. When I open up a program and it's a flatpak, when it opens up for the very first time, it's usually what I would say was extremely slow. Sometimes you just sit there and wonder, is it going to even open? But after that, they seem to open up a little faster, a lot faster usually. But no matter what I've installed here, let's see, just click on Firefox. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. 4 seconds and I'm up and running with Firefox. As a flatpak. So I just, so far in this journey, I have learned, I can't say percentage wise, but I will say that I have learned more about Linux installing Gentoo and going through their handbook, reading their handbook. Now, even at this time, I have not read the entire handbook, obviously, but I've read through it enough and got intrigued and got into some other stuff, and it's just fascinating. I got my net plug in, the date and calendar, I got that set right, the font where I can read it. I got Payvoo control for my volume, audio mixer, OBS Studio, and Firefox. We went through the menu already. So that's just a real quick look around into this desktop, Gentoo desktop, or I'm sorry, GNU Gentoo Linux. Gentoo GNU Linux. There, I got it. So this is just a really quick look inside of my GNU Linux. So this is just a real quick look around in my Gentoo GNU Linux installation with the Xfce4 desktop. And I'll know more, and I'll share some of these notes that I've taken. For instance, what I had to do to get audio working. Audio didn't work right out of the box because you have to install the things that you need to make it work on your system. And we'll go over some of that later on. But in this video, I think we'll just stop now because I can't really show you anything other than what I've already installed and you know what my plans are. So let's go back over here and let's talk about Gentoo a minute. Gentoo is not for you could say the faint of heart, but what you really should say is Gentoo is not for the typical end user who wants to point and click and it's done. It doesn't have a Calamaris installer. It does have a command line install or terminal install. And it will take you some time. Even at copying and pasting, SSHing into your system is very easy. I have found out a couple other things too. For instance, you don't have to have a Gentoo ISO in order to install Gentoo. I can install Gentoo by booting into a Linux Mint or a Fedora, anything that's got a graphical desktop. You boot into that, bring up a terminal, go to the Gentoo website, look up the handbook, and install Gentoo right using just say Linux Mint to help you do it as a graphical interface. Gives you a way to actually look up the handbook, copy and paste from the handbook over into your terminal. So I mean, they made it easy to install as far as the ways, the options you have to install it, which I think is fascinating, really. Anyway, I've been fascinated through this whole experience. I was going to say that it's not really for an end user that just wants to point and click and have an operating system that works. This system here came with nothing. When I booted in the Xfce, there was some things in the handbook that it said it wouldn't be there, and I should install, for instance, the Xfce terminal and Lunar. It said I would need to install those separately. But once I got booted into my live system or my desktop, those were there and functioned. And I'm thankful that I didn't need the Xfce terminal, because there wouldn't have been a terminal. But I already knew that because I had installed it in the VirtualBox. So VirtualBox definitely has their place. So anyway, I'll be back with some more on Gentoo. I'm not sure when, because everything does take time. And, you know, if you just want to point and click, it's not going to work for you. If you just want to point and click in a Gentoo, then you need to find a Red Core or a couple others, and they'll do that for you. But even then, it's going to be Gentoo, so you'll have a learning curve unless you already know all of that. And I don't, but I am working on it. This journey right here is actually been quite pleasant. The time consumption is the only real, what I could consider a drawback. I do consider it a drawback. But, I mean, you are compiling stuff from source, and you're getting only exactly what you asked for. And through those use flags that I don't know much about yet, you could even be more selective about whatever software is going to install. You can be a lot more selective. And I think, as it turns out, the use flags, I've done a lot more research on those than I have any other part of Gentoo, and it turns out the use flags can be your most incredible friend. Speed up compile times by not installing stuff that's not called for in the use flags. A lot of stuff. So that's going to do it for this video. I could go on. I could share I could share my last whole week with you, trying going through what I did, but I won't. If this is a journey that you want to take, go to the handbook. At least read through it, and kind of get an idea. If you're familiar with installing Arch Linux, then you won't have a single problem with understanding the Gentoo handbook. As far as the Gentoo handbook goes, I think it easily rivals the installation guide through the Arch wiki. And, I was familiar already with the Arch wiki, and when I got interested in Gentoo last month, I started looking through their handbook, and I'm going, I know what they're doing. I know what this is. And that's the way it'll be for you. So, I don't know. I may actually put this on a laptop just to see how that works. I had no problem with Wi-Fi. It recognized the Wi-Fi. Actually, I booted, if you get their live CD or live ISO, it'll boot up to a KDE desktop or Plasma desktop. And you can actually browse the internet, do whatever you want to. The handbook is going to be right as an icon right on the desktop. So you can actually just click on that. If you got internet, it'll bring up the handbook. So you're good to go. That's how I know about being able to boot into another system like Linux Mint and installing Gentoo. Anyway, so that's going to do it. I encourage you to, if you're interested, if you've used Arch and you're a little bit intrigued on that and you've got time, that's the key. If you've got the time. Now, you can get something going and just go away from your computer for half a day and come back and it'll be ready for you, I think. Depends on what you're compiling. Like I said, GNOME boxes took a long time, even with straight Ethernet. Okay then. Peace out, guys. Y'all take care. I'll catch you on another video. Bye.